Good morning and welcome to our online service. We welcome you to ponder with us in a time shared by members, friends, and visitors as a congregation of people in the spirit of the First Parish of Sudbury, Unitarian Universalist. We gather this morning to find meaning, to participate in community, maybe to find some small way to help make our communities and our lives a little bit better. This morning we gather in love with open hearts and minds, endeavoring to create a time and space where all are welcome to bring their whole self, respective beliefs, identities, gladness, and sorrows. I ask you to leave nothing about yourself behind. We love and welcome you just as you are. Friends, there's a button available below this window. If you click on it, you will receive this morning's order of worship. I welcome you to do that right now. Please open it and follow along. Our opening reading was written by the Reverend Rebecca Parker. Let us lean into one another. Let us keep faith with the source of life, knowing that we are not our own. Earth made us. Let us covenant with one another to keep faith with the community of resistance, never to forget that life can be saved from that which threatens it, by even small bands of people choosing to put into practice an alternative way of life. And let us covenant with one another to seek for an ever deeper awareness of that which springs up inwardly in us. Even when our hearts are broken by our own failure or the failure of others, cutting into our lives, even when we have done all we can and life is still broken, there is a universal love that has never broken faith with us and never will. This is the ground of our hope and the reason we can be bold in seeking to fulfill the promise. Let us join in lighting this morning's chalice. The words are located in that order of worship. We light this chalice, enriched by our differences and joined together in our search for meaning. We covenant with ourselves and each other to seek truth in the spirit of love, to strive for justice, and to serve others with a joyful heart. Please join us in singing our opening hymn. It's number 352, Find a Stillness, and the words are also located in your order of worship. This morning's reading is by Emily Long. It's called Lean In. Standing on the edge, the precipice of change, anticipation vibrates, reaching out to touch the misty veil of old becoming new. Lean in. Comfort and familiar whispers safety behind uncertainty unknown, beckons from beyond, one step, one moment, and all the world can change. Lean in. Let go and fall. Feel the wind rise up, lift me out of darkness, arms reach out and become wings that catch the wind as I soar above. Lean in. Lean into life, into uncertainty and fear. Reach out into and through the misty veil of doubt to find the space between where magic lives. Please join us in enjoying our musical interlude. Last Sunday, we marked the 1 year anniversary of COVID-19, sending us home in a way that none of us has ever experienced before in our lives. We have been separated from loved ones and friends, colleagues, and even the chance meeting of a stranger, the potentiality of a new friend. We have distanced ourselves, stopped hugging or shaking hands, all of the things that have brought us together in the past. Sealed the deal. The last year, even before COVID found its way to this continent, we worried about the virus from afar. Like all of the storms and catastrophes that we hoped would stay at bay, never finding its way here. Many, confident that we would not be affected, continued on business as usual at our peril. Borders were contained, travel was curtailed, we were asked to lock down in our homes, children homeschooled, workers evolving in order to remain relevant and employed. Imagine my surprise when I saw a moment of normalcy this week. For the first time in a year, my neighbor waited with her children at the end of my driveway for the school bus, and then they boarded with masks on, making their way into their day. I felt joy as well as trepidation, seeing them heading back towards what might seem to be normal, as theirs was a home that dealt with COVID. To be distant from grandparents and friends, they were sick. I think about the ways that the last year has changed us, even though we have endeavored to continue on. Over this year, I have dreamt about COVID, and I have realized how vulnerable we are. I wonder if our world will ever be the same. I think about 9/11, how that has changed us. Knowing in my heart of hearts that there is no going back to that blissful ignorance of pre-COVID times, in the face of it all, we continued on. But even the most basic of tasks were different. People went to the grocery store. It was different. We talked to neighbors from a distance. People bought homes and moved in despite the pandemic. Some of us were more careful, while others seemed unscathed by the news, so many falling ill and dying. We worked, had meetings, we gathered in ways that many never experienced before. We played games, and so many grieved those that were lost. Through it all, we participated in a campaign, reached out, encouraged, and voted. We chose to lean in to make a difference, whether it was on the front lawn of First Parish, demanding that Black Lives Matter, or calling for climate reform. This was a year like no other in history, a year where technology kept us connected, and in retrospect, I look back and wonder what our lives would have been like if we didn't have technology. Would we have survived? I wonder, hope, believe that many of us unconsciously or consciously even learned one simple lesson over the last year: to lean in instead of pull away. Lean in when we face such difficult news day after day. Lean in when we felt a sense of anxiety, fear, or dread, when we felt lonely or uncertain. To survive, we had to choose to think differently in order to rise above what we were facing. Instead of thinking of our survival as fight or flight, I prefer to think of it as leaning in instead of pulling away. Simplicity blogger Leo Babauta, creator of the Zen Habits, author of several books, born in Guam, moved to San Francisco, shares, "Normally we run from what scares us. We don't even know we're doing it, but we do it daily. When we procrastinate, when we avoid uncomfortable situations, when we build our lives around not having pain or discomfort. It actually limits us in profound ways, in ways we don't realize we're limited. If we can move into the discomfort and fear, then we can expand our range. We have more freedom, less restriction, more abilities in life. This takes practice, because first we have to be aware of the fears. Then we need to train ourselves to spot them and then lean into them. We are actually training ourselves to relish those scary areas. Instead of running away from what scares you every day, you might instead lean into those scary places. A way to think differently. What discomfort can you provide yourself with this day? This is essential life survival training. Leo offered some ideas for leaning into some things that might scare us. He offers, find something you're procrastinating on and lean into the discomfort of it. Face a scary project you've been trying not to think about. Have a difficult conversation you're afraid of having. Talk to strangers. Put yourself in uncomfortable social situations. Push yourself a bit with exercise. Try new foods, recipes, ways of cooking. Dance or sing in public. Learn something new and difficult. Meditate for longer than you usually do. His mantra, which I've made my mantra, lean into it, embrace it, find the deliciousness of it. From Leo's perspective, it seems that it is all about feeling uncomfortable and doing whatever it is anyways. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, do we know what it feels like to be uncomfortable? Can we tolerate sitting in the state of discomfort, or do we endeavor to medicate or self-medicate it away? Can we imagine a situation where we felt uncomfortable, pulled away, and how things might have been different if we chose to lean into it instead? I personally think that this year provided us with lots of opportunities to pull away and to lean in. There was and still is so much to learn about the places that cause us angst. Akakuro Kakuzo, a 19th century Japanese scholar and author, he wrote The Book of Tea, shared that the art of life lies in a constant readjustment to our surroundings. The art of life lies in a constant readjustment to our surroundings. One of the hardest things that we face in our lives is change. And in truth, regardless of the pandemic life we have been working through, life in general is all about change and has been. Add the pandemic and, well, we are looking at the perfect storm. In Leo's book, Essential Zen Habits, he explains a concept that I could hang on to, what he calls mind movie. He explains that there's a projector in our minds, and it's constantly playing a movie about how we'd like things to be. Our ideals about the world, our expectations of how things will turn out, how others should be, how we should be. These images aren't based on reality, but are just a fantasy this film projector has created from nothing. An ongoing fantasy about the best laid plans of mice, men, and women. Pure fiction until it is history. And even though, who knows the truth held within the story? Survival means being able to lean in and roll with the changes, especially the ones that we dread. To do this, we have to understand that our mind movie is just that, a work of fiction that we have created consciously or subconsciously, and that the movie is constantly running along in the background of our daily lives. When everything matches up with our mind movie, all is well and good. But when things do not go as we have seen on our internal screen, what Leo calls our childish mind literally has a tantrum. Plain and simple. Our movie goes in a different direction than what we have rehearsed or watched over and over and over again, and we're not happy about it. Cue the dramatic music, let the kicking, screaming, and pouting begin. What does it take to stop our childish mind from reacting when it does not get what it wants? How can we handle it, the change, and get a grip when we divert from the story? It is actually simpler than one might think. First, embrace that our mind movie is a work of fiction, loosely based on reality, but that is bound to face endless rewrites all throughout filming, aka our life. Secondly, how do we handle these rewrites? Know that change and discomfort is inevitable, and that human beings have always had the ability to evolve. We are actually pretty good at it if you look at history. We lean into all sorts of challenges, even though we clearly do not want to or like to. We change in order to survive. I think of immigration to the New World. I think of World War II in Europe. I think of the stories of challenge and survival that people are living through right now, today, as they migrate, immigrate, find a place for themselves. I think about those stories about the changes that we want to make in order to live a better life. Some we embrace and lean into, while others we may procrastinate in facing. Imagine traveling hundreds of miles by foot, to keep walking day after day, facing danger, illness in order to live a better, safer life. Now think about those steps taken by children. We do not have to immigrate to evolve, but we may want to change in order to survive, get healthier, quit an unhealthy habit like smoking, or try to eat better. We may want to change, but procrastinate instead of leaning into something that we know is better for us. But here's the reality. Leaning into it is going to make us uncomfortable. It's going to cause our childish mind to have a tantrum. In spite of this, I encourage us to lean into whatever may help us to transform. Maybe it's time to rewrite your movie, changing the theme that has stood in your way for far too long. This is no surprise. If you want to change your life, it begins by changing your mind. Then every day, lean a little bit more into the new behavior you want to evolve and embrace the person that you want to be. Lean in to the discomfort and fear. Incorporate change slowly over time. Eat better, go out for a walk. Focus on one change in this moment. Just keep doing it, moment after moment, day after day, till it becomes a habit. Then one day at a time turns into 30 days, which turns into 8 weeks. Stick with it. Face, rewrite, and lean in. Or as my AA brothers and sisters call it, fake it to make it. It seems simple enough, but I wonder why, in my own life, it can feel so hard to face, lean into, and make change. Leo explains that it's because we are always seeking comfort, pleasure, and control. Maybe that sounds similar to you. He also explained that in time, one can move from our mind movie to focus instead on this very moment. In many ways, that staying in the moment is us being willing to let go of control and go with the flow. Personally, I think that it is both our ever-evolving mind movie and staying focused in the moment that can help us to lean into whatever ails or inspires us. I have always thought about leaning in as sitting in the fire. This concept of sitting in the fire is kind of like yoga. Some people believe that when they are doing yoga, they are working out. Others believe that when they are doing yogic meditation, they are engaging in a spiritual practice. Each type of yoga challenges us in the same ways. Think about it. Are you working out, or are you doing a spiritual practice? Does the motivation that gets us to the mat even really matter? Working out or meditating? The truth lies in our understanding practice. Whatever helps us to lean into this experience of discomfort at times towards transformation is the way that's correct for us. As we stand at the precipice of this new day, then we think about vaccines and feel safer maybe. I ask you to be bold, filled with courage. Lean in and be the author of your own story, your own mind movie. And when you are really ready, let that movie just go. You don't need it anymore. And be wholly present in this one moment, awake and aware to the fullest. Think about it. Awake and aware to the fullest. What might this feel like to let go of control in such a way? For me, when I'm awake and aware, moments, dashing moments, it's all about letting go of the dream in order to live into our collective reality. Being the oneness that connects everyone and everything, and who we all are at the core of our being. In this context, we become awareness itself, the omnipresent witness of everything in existence. That is the reward for leaning in. It is similar to the practice that I spoke about last week, being awake and aware of being both independent and interdependent at any given moment, letting go of the mundane in order to lean in to the exceptional. This reality is right at our fingertips. An important takeaway after surviving the year that we have had, because survival is what we have done. Dear ones, we have traveled so far over the last 12 months without really going anywhere. We have faced the worst. We still have time to lean, to embrace, and to find the deliciousness in this exceptional now. May we meet one another there. May we meet one another there. I invite us to enter into a time of silent reflection, meditation, and prayer. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Thank you for your time and treasure to support the good work of First Parish. We accept your offering this morning via mail, dropping off a check to First Parish, texting your offering, or designating your offering online. You can find directions on how to participate in our online giving in the order of worship. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now let us join together in saying our unison extinguishing of the chalice. It's located in your order of worship. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Good and loving people, our time in worship has come to an end, so I bid you to go in peace. Speak your truth in love. Give thanks each and every day. The road that lies ahead of us is a long one, and the pace of progress will sometimes feel glacially slow. Never forget that glaciers over time can carve out grand canyons and great lakes. Moving tectonic plates can rise up mountains over millennia, or they can explode awe-inspiring volcanoes in a millisecond. Our commitment to love and justice can be and do the same. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. After the postlude, please select the social hour button. You will be moved to a Zoom room where we can share our milestones and our announcements with one another. It is a time we have set aside to help us to feel just a little bit more connected. So please join us.